search for the fugitives known as the Devil's Rejects resulted in a violent clash with police. Chances for survival are less than 1,000,000 to 1.
There's no justice in this world. I am justice.
They're trying to blame us, but we didn't do it.
Free the three!
Free the three! Free the three! Free the three!
Hello and welcome to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast. I'm your host Matthew Pejkovic and this is episode number 242. Releasing in theaters across the US on September 16 is 3 from Hell, the latest film from director Rob Zombie that dives back into the twisted, blood-soaked world of the murderous trio known as the Devil's Rejects in this latest chapter in the most violent crime saga in history. Joining me now is the star of 3 from Hell and a legend of genre cinema. It's none other than Bill Moseley. Bill, I thank you very much for joining me today.
Hey, it's my pleasure. And hello, Australia.
15 years, that's the last time we saw you on screen as Otis. And how many times do you think during that time period you were asked about a follow-up to The Devil's Rejects? And how satisfying is it that now you have a film that you can present to those fans?
Well, actually, to be a stickler, I was actually Otis again. In Rob Zombie's animated El Super Beasto. Otis appears at the very end of that. So, yeah, it's been a long time. It was actually certainly a lot of fun to get back into Otis's skin and get back to the murder and the mayhem. I didn't necessarily... it wasn't necessarily hard. It's kind of like riding a bike. When you've done a character that intense and you've really gone deep as we had to in Devil's Rejects, certainly with Otis. It was a little awkward, at first, getting back into Otis's skin. I was mindful of wanting to do justice to Otis from Devil's Rejects, but also to bring something new to Otis after these 14 long years of incarceration. And at first I was getting a little too in my head about it. And, after one scene, I remember, I kept dropping some lines. I just was messing up a little bit. And I took a time out and sat down and I heard this voice in my head that said, get out of the way, Bill, I've got this. And, it was basically Otis telling the insecure Hollywood actor to step aside, he's got this, and I did. I got out of the way, and things went very well after that.
I'm curious about the nature of reprising a role. When you're first given the role of Otis back in 2003 with House of a Thousand Corpses, you're given a blueprint. You give the character life. You give him a voice. When you reprise a character, does the role change after you give voice to him? I mean, does Rob keep your cadence in mind, your presence in mind when he's writing the role of Otis in future movies?
Yes, he does, but it was very interesting because the transition from Otis in House of a Thousand Corpses to Otis in Devil's Rejects was actually visually quite a change.
Yeah.
Going from a pasty, skinny albino to one of the Allman Brothers was basically, that was a big leap. Also, I think that Otis in House of a Thousand Corpses was a lot more cerebral and strange and artistic, and there's Fish Boy and all kinds of, there was almost a different voice to Otis. But then Rob did, really what so few directors do. I don't know if any actually offhand, which is take a movie like, the Foundation, House of a Thousand Corpses, and then somehow, some way, transform it into a different genre. The three main characters look different, act different. Baby I think she laughs maybe once, does her House of a Thousand Corpses laugh one time in Devil's Rejects. Most of the movie, Captain Spaulding is out of his clown makeup.
Yeah.
Otis has turned into an Allman Brother. It's no longer an old dark house horror movie. Now it's a violent crime road picture, kind of a grindhouse picture. So, so much changed that, I was expecting, I didn't know what to expect when Rob told Sid and me over lunch a couple of years ago that we were getting the band back together, so to speak. And I thought Rob did a really fantastic job in terms of the story, the script, and moving us along, keeping in mind that we were incarcerated for all those years from 2005 to 2019, or at least, whatever the time frame is in the actual movie. But I thought he did great. I thought it was very cool. It was very Sam Peckinpah. We head south to Mexico where our way of life still seems to make sense. I loved it.
The interesting thing about the 3 movies that you've done with Rob, all 4 if you count also El Super Beasto, is that you are witnessing the evolution of a filmmaker. When you've worked with Rob all through that time, as you evolve as an actor, as your character evolves, what changes do you see in Rob as a filmmaker through those years?
Well, I see an absolute maturity just in terms of his own artistic vision. His scripts remain really cool. Also, what really impressed me, or I was reminded of actually when I did 3 from Hell, was how technically adept he is. He really knows, the visuals. He sees the shot. He looks at how the set has been dressed. He might move a chair over 3 feet to fill in a certain visual gap for every scene. I mean, he's really on it. So, and he's very comfortable doing it. I mean, that's the other thing that we notice as actors is, that the director is not overwrought by any stretch. He is very comfortable. He knows what he wants. He's also the writer. So, in his mind's eye, he sees everything very clearly. He's also very good, but always has been very good at communicating what he wants. And obviously with different actors, you need different, they might take different tones or different voices in order to, communicate with them in a way that's helpful. And Rob is very cool. He's also, it's fun to work with him too, because he's also not averse to improvisation. If the scene can use it, if it helps the scene, he's all for that too. So that's the way I like to work. I mean, a lot of directors have different approaches. Some of them are like, kind of a Captain Ahab, and my way or the highway, and don't change a word, and all that kind of stuff, and look like this and turn like that. And I certainly can work like that, but it's not half as fun as working organically with someone like Rob.
My final question, Bill. Back in filming of The Devil's Rejects, Rob said something to you on set that I think had a profound effect on you, and that is, art is not safe. And I think it's a very distinct kind of way to approach the type of filmmaking that you guys are doing. You've been in the industry for a very long time now, and it seems to me these days that while creatively filmmakers like Rob can do a lot of great things, that there is some type of pushback from a lot of people to try to ban films. We just saw recently a big film from Universal Pictures called A Hunt that was cancelled. We don't know whether it's going to come out. So while art is not safe, in your opinion, do you think that art in some ways is under siege these days compared to events of past?
I'm sure it is. It always has been, and I think that's what really makes it art, that it's not Finding Nemo. It's it's something a lot more controversial, and that really stirs up a lot more feelings. And I actually really appreciated that when Rob said that was in the Kahiki Palms motel scene when I was pistol raping poor Priscilla Barnes. And and I came off after the first take, and really my gut was clenched, and people were sad. They were crying at Video Village. And it was a heavy scene. And I'm so glad he said that, because he could have said, "Oh, you poor thing," which wouldn't have helped. he could have been like my dad, the U.S. Marine, and said, "Tough it up," and just go back in there and do what you got to do, and that wouldn't have really worked. Although it probably worked a little better than being sympathetic. Oh, you poor thing. But when he said the art is not safe, it told me that. First of all, that we're not just doing, we're not just phoning in a sequel here. We're doing something special. And second of all, I don't think I had ever really thought about that before. I think maybe I had really thought that art was safe for some reason, and I don't really know where I got that in my head. But it just kind of it blew my mind in that moment that we were going for art, and that art isn't safe, and that the function of the artist in society is to not be safe, is to do the stuff that really makes people react strongly, and that I thought was really that's why I remember that so famously in terms of his influence on me in that moment. With Three from Hell. Now that we've kind of got that out of the way, in terms of art is not safe, and we're going for something. Then that just makes it a lot more fun and challenging to work with Rob again.
Bill Moseley, I thank you very much for your time. Congratulations with the movie, and hopefully we can talk again in the future with any future projects of yours.
Yes, I would love that. And I hope I see you in Sydney.
Excellent. I see you in Sydney as well. Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Thank you. All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.